Passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. What a magnificent Monday. You know why? Because we are part of it and giving thanks. And we're going to make it even better because we're going to participate. I want to hear your contributions, your comments, your queries. Hey, give us a shout and share your thoughts with us at 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. There's a prize for a caller who's never called before. There's even a prize for a caller who hasn't called in a long time. Well, you have to call to find out if the prize is for you. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks for the time, the opportunity, and now together, let's make a meaningful difference. It's going to be some open line here on Talk Today. A Monday's edition sometimes is just a way to share your thoughts. 949-8037, or if you can and you wish, use the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. And of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Well, usually, when you call, you'll get one of our great, just amazing, talented and gifted on air, resources that we have. And for those who are trying to shout me on the other line, well, if you want to be a part of the on-air discussions, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-TALK. 1-800-534-8255. Call and share your thoughts with us and be a part of what's going on. And as you look, sort of where we are now, and as you're probably hearing, much of what the government has been sharing, well, what is your perspective? For some of you, have you been out and about in the waters, whether off the beaches or in the Sound or other places, you may be seeing things you've never seen before. There may be a renewed clarity to the water. There may be that, hey, wait a minute, in these waters, it's not just people swimming. There are also sharks and other fish. Is that because, as people, we're not so much in the water that they now feel that they can occupy their space? And then if we see them, how do we respond? Well, what are you thinking about where we are as a country? Are you feeling that we've been saved? Are you feeling a sense of security? Are you feeling a sense of hope and opportunity? Or are you still, in that mindset where there's dread and despair and you're wondering, what's going to happen because there's great fear? Well, we want to hear from you. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. So I had an interesting discussion with someone earlier who was trying to draw an analogy between, what we see on the surface, what is sort of presented in the mainstream media, and the sanitized sort of presentation of everything. And then he said, then there's the truth. Sort of like the web in the dark web. You don't know the guile and the disgust that happens. You don't know necessarily, what is transpiring unless you walk in certain circles. The fellow who's only in the church pew on Sunday but never on the bar stool on a Friday may not get to appreciate that the pastor is at both. And not necessarily ministering, but, perhaps inviting. Now, that's not to be overly disrespectful as the comment can be perceived. But it's a fact that sometimes we don't appreciate that there are individuals amongst us who seem to wear many hats, not just the Jekylls and the Hydes, but there are also others who can move through other communities and be as comfortable in one setting as the next because they're real and they're genuine. They subscribe strictly to honesty. The challenge with them is that we as a people don't always appreciate, we don't embrace, or we don't seem to have that fortitude to follow in their footsteps. He said, for instance, and he would probably go to great pains to explain that he's not a religious person. There's a time when he would go to church, Christmas, all of the important traditional days, Mother's Day and Easter. But it's been a minute day that hasn't transpired. And it isn't because, he doesn't see the importance of it. It's because he just finds that there is great hypocrisy, not just in the church, but within him. So for him, he says, if we look at what we were sort of taught in Sunday school way back when, there's Jesus going into the temple, but he also, went into the other places that were seen to be places of ill repute, to minister, to draw close. And as he said, he didn't come for the saved, but for the sinner. And so he was asking to what extent then, as we get into the political campaign, we see our aspiring politicians, in church, at funerals and everywhere that we expected them to be, but we also see them in the bars, perhaps in their natural habitats, as it were. And we're going to castigate them no matter where they are. And he thought, is it because we fail to appreciate that it isn't the, sort of disingenuousness of the politician who is campaigning, but it is us, of the one who is, assessing, judging, analyzing, critiquing, as it were. And he asks, could we talk about that today? Well, it's up to you. We can talk about anything that you want to talk about. And certainly invite you to share your thoughts with us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. If you are a first-time caller, we would like to say thank you. Just let us know. We probably, not only would recognize, but we'll be honored because it is through new voices, new opinions, new views and perspectives that encourages more of us to share our thoughts, but reminds us that it is through that sort of open, accessible approach that we can have a semblance of a healthy democracy. If you're a caller that hasn't, for whatever reason, taken the opportunity to share with us, well, do so. And if you're one, of our few callers who are, not just daily listeners, but daily contributors, well, I want to say thank you as well. We can offer you something equally. They say it's better to give than to receive. Well, we're giving you the opportunity to use the airwaves to let your voices be heard. But we also will find a way. Our good friends over at Reflections, whether it's Liquor for Less, Food for Less, they're amazing. They have an incredible approach to business and the like. And as they advertise with us, they give us their approval and the support to offer up to our listeners, gift certificates and other things to show a level of customer appreciation. It is in this healthy partnership with the business and the wider community that we can see the good corporate citizens. Let's go to our phones, man. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. How are you today?
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, I must confess, since it's you, and as much as I'm thinking about politics and everything else, I can't but help, just walk in my mind, through a certain subdivision, eyeing certain these berry trees and just wondering, when will they be ripe so I can taste the succulent flesh of a sweet gooseberry? But it's just my thoughts.
Okay. Well, if you want to address that in perspective for you.
Where the hills are.
Yeah, if you see a gooseberry tree, you better take a picture with it.
I knew you were saying that.
Yeah, but by the time you come back, it'll be gone.
Maybe there's a friend who will help me out. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. Just wonder where we're going, because when it comes to politics and politician and everyone else, my grandfather said, talk is cheap, but it takes money to buy whiskey.
Yeah, But is that a problem then? That when you say where we're going, is it because we don't know where we're going? And what I say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Well, we should realize where we're going. I mean, it's obvious that even the animals see where we're going. Let's discuss first the beach access.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, we have a few more beach access now, but once you get down to the beach, where do you go? Apparently, the beach is private, so what you can do, go straight in the water?
It's only going to get worse if we don't address it, right?
But listen, over umpteen years, anybody has really addressed this problem?
Well, why is it that we haven't addressed it? Is it, I mean, in your perspective, what is it so difficult about it that we can't address it?
Why is it difficult? Well, I know as well as you know, the difficulty is locals, whether you call you Caymanians or whoever you are, if you have, if you naturalize Caymanian, then you should consider yourself a Caymanian. So don't say, well, you Caymanians must get on the front line. We all in this boat together.
Well, is that the problem then, that we have been so apt to assign labels to everybody? We do it to ourselves, we do it to others, and then we never hold anybody accountable. So as an example, and if this is disparaging, correct me, sorry, because it's not that I'm afraid to tell a person where to get off, but in this case I just want to maybe speak to the principle. So let's use the example that like I said, development construction, it seems to be the driver in the economy for employment and for the money that goes into the government coffers so that we can have increased taxes to pay for all other stuff, right? So let's say a developer, just one developer, medium scale, small scale, he comes and he seems to be the most egregious, offensive, can I use the word, just a schmuck. All right, my good friend from that part of the world, that's his favorite word. So this guy is just a schmuck. The politicians know that, but they invite him and they entertain him, elevate him, and otherwise celebrate him. And he's doing a bad thing in West Bay, Georgetown, all through Grand Cayman and all through the country. He's just a guy, but for whatever reason, we don't seem to wrap him on his knuckles. Reel him in. Maybe we find out that he came from some other part of the world and, was even worse there. But here now he's empowered.
So who allow him to do this?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, why is it that we are allowing that? And what if now at some point, whether in the shortest of time frames relative to other people, and I'm going to say he, all right? So it could be a she, but let's just use he since it's two of us talking. We give him some sort of status, whether that is not just a social status, but we give him immigration status, some sort of security tenure, permanent residency, citizenship, or what have you. Now, we joke and say you can take the man out of the bush, but can't take the bush out of the man. Well, that applies for the guy who comes here from, South Africa or from South Korea. I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from, or you could come from, So West Bay, I mean, I don't know. Why is it that we don't hold people and wrap them on the knuckles when they need to be held accountable?
Well, you need to retract yourself when you said we. It's not we, it's they. Because you and I are ordinary citizens in this island. The authorities, I would say, is the proper word to use. The people that are in positions that, I mean, come on.
Yes, sir.
Is this the best that we can do for our country? Is this the best we can do for our country?
Well, it would seem so.
I don't think so. I think people need to really look around and try to make a significant change in May.
Okay.
I think we should. Because let's take, for example, the enormous amount of development that's going on here.
Yes,
Not
sir.
just the guy that putting down a little house, but all of these greedy people that putting down these condominiums and these hotels. Sterling,
Yes,
we
sir.
do not have a proper sewer system. Check your water lens below and see what's happening there. You can put up all these buildings, all of your water lens below is contaminated, and it will go to the sea. Don't make the frighten you. That's where it's going, into the sea. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why not somebody? I mean, these people are so, what the Spaniards say, callao, being closed, tight-lipped, and not saying anything that with their neckties and whatever. What's going on here? We can talk till we blue, but until we decide there has to be change in the polls, that's where we need to make this change. And we just cannot continue like this. I mean, look at your vegetation. Look what's happening. All you can see is construction sprouting up with people that got more money than they could spend in 50 generations. So what's happening here? What about the little youths on the street, the Caymanians, less fortunate? They look at them and say, well, you know, oh, they're not going to ambition, they don't want to work. I agree that we have a significant amount of people that don't want to work. Just like those that are coming in here, not a hell of a lot of them that I see really want to work. They want to get handouts as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know if it's necessarily they don't want to work. I think it's just that, well, maybe that's a discussion with other people, but let me listen to you. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I want to share that we got some good cold weather coming in here now. So if that makes you happy.
Yeah.
You need to really get on board with us, and this is not any time to really skylark. This is a serious thing that's facing this little island.
Well,
and if you're not careful, you're going to be shared out. You are going to have to take sea for dry land.
If you're lucky.
I hope you understand that.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to let you go so you have a pleasant day, and we talk again.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much indeed. And we do have some other callers online, but as I look across at who's at controls, my friend, we're taking a break or going into the calls, because you know me, I like to go fishing. All right, well, let's see if we can put some bait on the hook and cast a line in as we return. But if you're online, just stay tuned. Please don't go away. We'll join you right after.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vant Motors has lots of great reasons why you should choose a Toyota Corolla Hybrid or CHR Hybrid for your new ride. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven, so you don't ever have to worry about plugging them in. Both are super quiet as well as economical and fun to drive. So stop by Vant Motors to check out a new, fuel-efficient, eco-friendly Toyota Corolla Hybrid for only $26,900 or a sporty CHR Hybrid starting from $34,150 while stock lasts. Go Toyota. Go hybrid. Go to Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square and Grand Harbor has the largest and the best collection of Hallmark and Shoebox Valentine's Day cards. Poetic cards, serious cards, seriously funny cards, fabulous cards, and the perfect card for your Valentine. Healthcare Pharmacy also has Hallmark gift boxes, brand name perfume and cologne sets, home spa kits, and quotable quotes for your Valentine. So this year, make it a perfect Valentine's Day with Healthcare Pharmacy, Grand Harbor and Governor Square.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. It is open line as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. It's 949-8037, 949-8037. Or 1-800-534-8255. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, Mom. How are you today?
This is Georgia E. Banks.
Blessings to you, Miss Georgia. Always a pleasure to hear from you, Mom.
My dear, I am so thankful God gave me another day of life.
Amen.
And I trust, Mr. Sterling, that you yourself and all your family are keeping well.
Thank God, Mom. Thank God we are indeed.
I have one question to ask, and then I'll hang up and wait for the answer.
Yes, Mom.
I have heard it I wouldn't say on such good authority, but I heard it that they are planning on doing some development down at Barker's Beach.
Yeah, there's been something in the media about it, and I had made a note to try to find a little bit more. But end of the day, as the caller just shared, sometimes it doesn't really matter, who you are, how involved. If something's going to happen, and the hands that be decide that churn the butter, then I guess you just have to feel the oil, huh?
And that's such. I had the privilege of being taken there by a friend many years ago, and to my thinking, it was one of the most beautiful, secluded spots, I believe, on this island.
I agree with you.
You do?
Oh, yes,
well,
Mom.
Thank God for that.
As I listen to you, Miss Georgia, I'm almost, constrained to ask, what is it that is somehow causing the country and its people, in particular its voters, simply because those are the ones that seemingly, make the decisions. Now we know that.
Turn it down a little bit more.
All right, but maybe I'll ask that question. What else do you want to share with us, Mom?
Well, it's something I fail to understand, Mr. Sterling.
Yes, Mom.
Why is it that people come to our island and they seem to expect, and then we're so number pamper, we sit down and whatever they ask for, if at all possible, we always try to accommodate them and do it. And that is not fair. This is our island. But you see, Mr. Sterling, and when I say these words, I'll hang up.
Yes, Mom. Yes,
not long-winded.
Yes, Mom.
There are a lot of males on this island. I'm talking mainly about men now. But very few men. I hope Dr. Steve McField wouldn't mind me quoting him. He said there are a lot of males, but very few men, and they have rubber knees and clay feet. Can you imagine what a racket they must make walking in those?
Yes, Mom. I don't mean to laugh, Mom.
You laughed and I laughed too.
Yes,
but
Mom.
Mr. Sterling, it's definitely not funny.
Not at all.
It's not funny at all. This is our little island, and I always put out my hand and say, yes, a little handkerchief size island, and so many different nationalities are living here, and it's not their fault.
No,
they
not
come
at all.
here, and we receive them with open arms.
Yes, Mom.
But the thing is, we don't have to cater to their every wish and need. And I leave you with this now. May God continue to bless our three islands, Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman. Amen. And may all the people on the three islands, including this one, be kept safe from anything would harm them. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray that prayer for us.
Amen, Mom. Thank you for that too. And as you hang up, just let you know that there are some listeners, and one in particular who just shared that was fondly thinking of you and has said, God bless that most precious one, blessings in abundance to Miss Georgette, and a long, healthy, happy, and prosperous life. So.
Well, God has been so good as to let me enter my 94th year. So, bye-bye now, Mr. Sterling.
God bless, Mom.
God
Have a
bless you.
wonderful
Bye-bye.
afternoon. Bye-bye. And as Miss Georgia was sharing, and she's reminding us sometimes of what has been said by other stalwarts in the community. Men who in the past were seen as iron men on wooden ships. Now, thank God that we have some resolute women, not just of our own stock, but who have come and been a part of us. From the new, in the friends that we've become acquainted who serve as mentors in many capacities, to those who have, married and into the community and has so become an indelible part of our lives. But as she was sharing, there a lot of males but few men. If you were listening to DJ Lynn earlier, he played the song "Man Shortage." You can interpret it and comment on the song. But if you think of it, it's not hopefully the intent of being sexist that I think Miss Georgia was sharing. Where are we as people to stand in the gap and to stand and be counted? And perhaps as you were listening to her, it isn't that they come and we bend over backwards. Yes, perhaps it is. But perhaps it's sometimes, what is it to say? The better to what? Ask forgiveness and permission. As she was speaking to the whole question of, she heard the development of Barkas. And when we look at undeveloped lands, is it important to preserve things, not just a small pocket or to redevelop it as a park or a public open space, but is it important that maybe instead of a development happening in 10 years, maybe it's 100 years, maybe it's 500 years, maybe it's, to remain unspoiled for, perpetuity. Is it that we're only looking at the now? That may extend for, one political season or over 3 or 4. But what will our children or their grandchildren or their grandchildren's grandchildren, say about a country's history? Well, we talk about, 500 plus years, but is it really been that long? Because in one breath, that's what we're told, and before another is drawn, the same speaker shares, well, we're really only, a young nation. Or we can't be 500 years old or only 50. They both can't coexist simultaneously. Where's the ethos, the ethics, the integrity, the sense of sort of, value? With that, I wanted to ask, and not to pose it only to those, who may be willing to respond now, but inspired by what Miss Georgia was sharing. The voters, well, let's ask that question, but let's first take this call. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, Sterling, I had to call back.
Yes, sir.
Quickly, I just want the whole island to know, when we were standing up for the West Bay Road, 2 gentlemen in the House that fought thick and thin with us, Mr. Arden McLean from Eastern and Mr. Ezard Miller from North Side, 2 outstanding gentlemen in the community. I hope sincerely that they will get elected and have key positions in this island, because I feel certain to say if they do, we can see some drastic changes in what's going on in this island. Mr. Arden is a gentleman, and he means what he says and says what he means, just like Mr. Ezard. So
yes, sir.
I just want to get that to the public to know they are 2 gentlemen. I respect them any way I see them because they are gentlemen. Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. You're most welcome. And with that, perhaps this is a good opportunity to maybe make this comment. But first, let me make sure that I'm on the right side of the commercial break. My friend, you want to pause now and take a break? We'll go and foster up some chocolate. When we come back, let's see who wants to contribute, who has something to share. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We've set the stage for the Monday to be right, then the rest of the week just falls in shape. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners now offering 12% off all ladies and gents wearing apparels. Prepaid on orders $19 and up. Other household items such as bedspreads, drapes, and wedding dresses remain at a standard 10% off prepaid. These discounts are on at all our stores and will end February 20th. Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, 337 Eastern Avenue, drive-through, rain or shine. Telephone 949-7104. Our seamstress is on duty. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your mailing address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, to download and fill out our customer information update form, or contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or call 949-2837.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action.
Radio Command Sports Update, brought to you by Evangelist Joseph Ebanks.
Have you heard the call?
Inviting you to Have You Heard the Call? Weekly worship every Wednesday and Thursday. Listen to the biggest sports stories in Cayman, around the region, and around the world. Inside the 7 a.m. hour on Radio Cayman. Brought to you by Evangelist Joseph Ebanks. Have you heard the call?
Covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Weekdays on Radio Cayman. Speak up at the polls this general election.
On May 26, 2021, do the right thing. Exercise your democratic right and vote. A public service announcement from your number one community station, Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. It's open line. It's a Monday. Let's set it up. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Mondays seem to be days that are particularly stressful. There are some weeks in the month where we have, particular things that have to be accomplished for our work. Maybe it's the end of the month and there are reports to be done. Maybe it's that particular week. I remember, way back when in another life, where on a particular day every month, reports were due. And it became to the point where, when that day rolled around, it created some unnecessary stress such that, that day, whether it's the 3rd or the 7th or the 15th, that day itself became a dreaded day. Because every month on that day, a particular thing had to occur. Doesn't matter if you could do it, knew it, just added stress. Well, maybe we draw alongside each other and help to massage the knots out of our shoulders. Maybe we, stand to gird them to ensure that they feel safe and secure, they're nurtured, they're protected, and that we're moving forward together. Well, with the caller's points, let's ask the question. Is it that the politician that we're not necessarily holding accountable? Or is it that we're not supporting and sharing in the vision? Is it that as a voter, we're not, first off, getting registered because we're eligible? If we are, we're not going out and to cast our ballots, just like, the PSA that you just heard. Or when we do, we're not doing so from a very informed, objective, reasoned and involved perspective. So to the 2 points, whether it's the development in some area, and irrespective of who may be behind it and whatever, economic gains, have we properly assess the cost? A property has been developed and it makes a lot of money, it employs people, the government gets good revenue, but is that the best use of the property? Not just for agricultural purposes, but sometimes we ignore, the benefit forever to it remaining undeveloped. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and how are you today?
Blessed. How about yourself?
Same thing. Blessed. We all are blessed,
We are. We just don't always appreciate it.
Yeah. Some of us don't. They think that we open. Some people think that they open their eyes themselves,
Yeah, or was it the barking dog or the crowing chicken or the nudging spouse, huh?
Yeah, I want to echo that last caller. Mm-hmm. Because he is telling the truth, Mr. Orman.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is the same thing. When we were protesting about the roads, Mr. Arden and Mr. Miller was always there, but he mustn't forget, or I think he forgot, or he would have mentioned him too. Mr. Gilbert McLean was also there with us.
Yeah, I think what he was sharing, I think he was saying that, current members of the House and maybe just trying to
Yes. I understood it that way. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are good people. Another thing, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at that time, Michael Ryan was still was in this island. Well, he's still in the island, but he was at the Ritz-Carlton at the time, and he didn't want for Caymanians to put their boats in safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
And we could not find our own politicians.
Mm-hmm.
I know two boat operators and stuff. They had to go looking for Mr. Miller. And Mr. Miller came down and helped.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on a Saturday, as far as I know. But that family, it's a big family. They can clear that, if I'm mistaken, but definitely it was Mr. Miller that helped them.
Right. But if I could then ask you, well, no, in fact, just wait. You continue. I don't wish to put you off track. Let me listen.
And then another thing I would like to say.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the BRAC on the weekend, and usually if I go up there,
mm-hmm.
I visit up there because I have two dear friends,
mm-hmm.
Colleen and Miss Rose Moxham,
mm-hmm.
that owns the Pioneer Bakery.
Yes, ma'am.
And I go to visit them. When they down here, they don't have the time to visit me or to do.
They come for business, huh?
Yes, yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And I usually go to church,
mm-hmm.
and I was surprised, and I was happy to hear that when they call out the names of the sick people,
mm-hmm.
our dear friend, family friend, and a very dear friend of mine, Miss Naomi Fazio,
yes,
was on that list. And I go to churches here, and I don't hear the request prayer for her.
Mm-hmm.
In our own churches here in Grand Cayman, I had to go across the pond to hear that. And I admire that sort of thing. And it was at the Baptist Crossroad. If you've been to the back, oh yeah.
I wish I went this weekend, but anyway.
Yeah, I seen DJ Lynn there though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I'm not tattling on him, but anyway.
Well, I hope not either.
Anyway, I admire that, and I say, you know something? That's the way that our three islands used to live many years ago, that we didn't have all this telecommunication, but they prayed for each other. And that's the way we should live and set an example. And again, I want to thank Mr. Miller, Mr.
McLean,
and also Mr. McLean, Gilbert McLean.
Yes, ma'am.
Very much, even though this case had went to court and all of that, and we weren't putting any Cuban flags up or anything, we had to go and get permission from the police to even protest, okay?
Yeah.
So, you know. But we didn't get anything much done, but the people were willing to come out and listen to what we had to say, not want to be on the radio too long, but we did have two of our politicians drive by and told us that we were fools, shouted our own West Bay politicians. One were driving and one was just a passenger. To drive by. They know who they are. They know who they are. Anyway, I wish Cayman Radio Cayman a very good day. Thanks for the time, Dwayne.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a good afternoon as well.
Thank you. God bless. You too as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Hello, Sterling. Rambo.
Hey, Rambo. How are you, man?
Yeah, the weather good, cool and nice.
Natural?
Cool and nice. Yeah, I can't complain.
Now what say, man?
Yeah, it's starting to work about now. You know, it's campaign time now. Right? This is the season here, right?
Yep.
In different there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm aware, right? With my insight or intuition that 3 candidates running in my area. I'm aware of that, right?
Okay.
So when they come to my door, they're welcome, and I would like to tell them I want on the manifesto, right, a written request, requisition of the herbs. Where coming from?
Yeah.
The herbs.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because those days gone all the time. Right? We contemporary era, right?
Right.
Certain citizens might dislike me when we talk about our topic, and to me, like I say, starting, I told you a couple weeks ago, that's a diaphragm. Inhale, exhale, your lungs. Right? To all people, it's a taboo. Okay? So, like certain, I think I called about 3 weeks ago, and I was telling you the state of Oregon.
Right.
They decriminalize narcotics to a certain extent. Democrats did that strategy. Okay? In November. Right? 2 months ago. So, I know, right now in this time, starting in the world order. Right? And, you know, Biden is affiliated with third world countries. Right? And China, they tight for power country. And it came on now, the tourism took up the halt, obviously, due to the pandemic. So, we need to subsidize, right? A monetary grant on the herbs. Right? Seriously, on a different note. Okay? So then, I don't want to work now. Enjoy the rest of the day. Now, more about things, the lady, the hostess show on Thursday. Yeah, she did a good job.
Last Wednesday.
I get parts of that.
Last Wednesday. Yeah, man. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for that. You know, appreciate it very much. And this is where we need to get the space and a place where we can respect others' opinions. We can respectfully disagree, even in a public space, and we can stand our ground. And even if we are convinced of where we stand, even if we're the lone voice, that we're prepared to do so in a reasoned, rational, objective, responsible manner, then that's perfect. But then the question sometimes, are we just follow fashion? Because what they say, follow fashion, bring broke neck. But just because you are, part of the chorus doesn't mean that you're in tune. Equally, if you're the soloist, it doesn't mean that what you're saying doesn't necessarily resonate with others, nor have value. Well, I want you to be a part of a discussion. When we come back after the news break, as we look, as the caller was saying, about being in the campaign season, the politics, I think, always continues. The very astute politician is always campaigning, always ensuring that that vote is cemented and maybe a new one has been garnered. So let's talk about the campaign. He says in his area, he's probably so far aware that 3 people, may be contesting the seat. Well, do you want to talk about your area? As you talk about it, could we ask the question, going forward, should we be looking at our Constitution? We've heard, perhaps for the first time in our history, for some of us anyway, and for a very long time, we could probably harken back to the days, of Dr. Roy, perhaps, considering the contributions of Mr. Panton, when he was sort of in the throes of moving the country forward. For some, it was internal self-government and independence, and for others, it was not just a sense of political purpose and direction and being, at the helm of your schooner. But we heard just recently in our own legislative assembly, before it was a name change, that independence looms. Some would say within the next 10 years. Now, is the country prepared for that? So as we talk about that sort of political evolution, the constitutional advancement and provision, should we be also asking about how we elect, who we elect, and should it be a national vote? Well, let's have those conversations if you're so inclined. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have, on Iowa.
Your voice, your choice.
It is
the best interests of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. The Public Health Department continues hosting free vaccination clinics this week. The program continues to administer dose 2 vaccinations for persons due from stage 1, group A, B, and C. For those getting their second dose, the date noted on the vaccination card for the second dose is the earliest date in which you can receive the vaccine. As a reminder, the vaccination clinic previously located at the Cayman Islands Hospital is now located at Owen Roberts International Airport check-in area, a location officials say is much better suited for larger crowds and has reduced wait times. Face masks are also required at all of the vaccination clinics. Turning to international news now, the leader of the coup in Myanmar has made his first TV address seeking to justify the action amid mass protests. The leader of the coup in Myanmar said November's election, won in a landslide by the party of detained elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, had been unfair. The military has begun to impose restrictions in some areas, including curfews and limits to gatherings. Huge protests were held on Monday for a third straight day, along with a nationwide strike to oppose the coup. South Africa has put its rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine on hold after a study showed disappointing results against its new COVID variant. Scientists say the variant accounts for 90% of new COVID cases in South Africa. The trial, involving some 2,000 people, found that the vaccine offered minimal protection against mild and moderate cases, but experts are hopeful that the vaccine will still be effective at preventing severe cases. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers won Super Bowl 55 at Raymond James Stadium by a score of 31-9 against last year's champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, and their superstar quarterback. For the first time, women have won the Super Bowl as coaches. This is Tampa Bay's second title, and it caps an NFL season unlike any before it, with Super Bowl 55 taking place in front of a crowd of just 24,835 and roughly 30,000 cardboard cutouts of fans. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now? Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It is Open Line as we take your calls and have an opportunity to engage each and everyone to ensure that there is a balanced, informed, impartial, and respectful approach to giving our listeners the voice that they deserve. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Hey, man, what a perfect intro. I'm Jed. Listen, thank you for calling. Sometimes you seem to get the short end of the stick. But that's how it, the cookie crumbles some days. But today's your day, man. Let's hear your perspective, huh?
Yeah, sometimes they pressure you to cut me off.
You've been in the studio before, man.
The same evil spirits, Satan's and the devil, they always after my calls because they don't like the truth.
Well,
I laugh at this woman she just called earlier. Remind me of this story I read recently about a man in India. As much he loved Trump, he make a statue for Trump, and he become make Trump as God, and he start worship Trump. And when he hear that Trump leave the White House, the man gets suicidal and kill himself. And I afraid this woman, she gets suicidal when Mr. Miller lose the election this time, and she died, and I afraid she gets suicidal.
Right. Well, listen. Let's. I hear you. Sometimes the frustrations come. So let's see if between the two of us now, right? As much as we speak about people, let's focus on, because I think you have an insight, right? And so, like many, you probably love politics equally, right? So, what do you think? Let's hear what you want to share, and then let's see what you feel about engaging a little bit of banter. Go right ahead, man.
Dwayne, first, you are speaking about the way how people elect.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned the word of national vote.
Right.
If you remember, Dwayne, the same people was sitting in one man, one vote issue. They want, they want to put this system, one man, one vote, and they fight for it, and, they you know who they are. And the same list of people they trying to get elected, and even they scared to run for election. Look at the same people was sitting in the one man, one vote. One of them, Mr. Johan Maxim, the steak man.
The what?
He was acting in advertisement for steak, so I call him the steak man.
All right.
So those people, they can't get elected, and they trying every 4 years, to change the system or do anything so they can get elected.
Okay.
If the people don't want somebody to get elected, they will not elect him, no matter what the system is.
Right. So before you go there, right? Like, go ahead. That's one. Let's hear the two. Go ahead. We'll come back to it.
Two, I think a small island like this, where the national vote mean the 3 island population who eligible to vote can vote for 19 people, for the 19 candidates.
So all voters vote for all of the candidates.
All the candidates.
Okay.
And decide which, so people can, like, party can put 19 candidates. For example, PPM put 19 candidates, UDP put 19 candidates. This party, we don't know what is his name, Mr. Miller made, and he don't have members even in it, can put 19 anybody from the street. No matter what party want to run, and then the people decide really who they represent them, because those people, the 19 members of the House, they are making laws for everybody in Cayman.
Right. So are you before I miss, are you in favor of a national vote? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought you said, but I just want to make sure. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah, I am. Of course, at the time, if you remember, 2009, when the UDP was campaigning, this idea came out from the campaign of the UDP, especially from Mr. Elio Solomon. If you remember that he was campaigning to put the national vote out to the public, and I think it is a good idea because it makes the people in general decide who is the House, who represent them there, and really the real election will show you who is really popular and who is not popular.
Right. So it is a popularity contest at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and who is really the man who the people want to put in the House, because this single member constituency, I think it is a failure system for a small island, because we are not United States, we are not England, we are a small island. And I think the 3 islands should decide who is the 19 members of the House to represent them. And also, I want here to come back to important subject, Dwayne. Every MLA, look past 4 years, what he achieved. If those area he represents, for example, Georgetown, for example, Bodentown, which area in those north side, east end, every MLA, the voters need to look what they achieve. In West Bay, for example, what they achieve. Everyone needs to look what those.
But
what
as
those,
I
but past 4 years.
Right. But let me ask you then, as you share that, right, and that's why I think you get a chance, because you out and about and you get the ears of many people, and then you can extend a voice for them, right? But if we were looking at what they achieved, how do we measure that? As an example, so and I say this, and if it sounds disrespectful and disparaging, then great, right? We've taken the country and we cut it up, sliced it up into 19 little pockets, potentially creating garrison communities and dividing families and communities, right? So as we cut it up, and it's of no value, is it then that the politician in cut up community one must get a civic center, a hospital, a school, a playing field, and a statue of some sort, and the politician in community 2 and community 3 and so on, must all have, everybody has to have a town hall, a library, a civic center, and all those things. Is that how we measure what they've achieved if we're continuing? I mean, how do you assess that? How does the voter determine whether that politician has been good for that particular area?
Yeah, I mean, I give you example. You look what this MLA tried to do in his community. Like what he achieved in the community. Not sit down and sleep 4 years like Austin and David White and Barbara Connolly and those people.
Yeah, I hear you, but let those communities determine whether they should be returned or not, or somebody else challenge them. So I hear you. So okay, have they been effective? Speak to the principal, and let's hold the person just for a second at bay. Help me.
I mean, Dwayne.
Yeah.
Look, you need to look what this MLA bring motions to the House, laws, what he achieved. I give you example.
Okay.
In 2009, for example, when Mr. Elio Solomon was there, he bring the pension motion, he bring the tissue and transplant motion, he bring a lot of achievement, a lot of motion. This is MLA. You can represent the people the right way. What if I look at people who in the House now? There is some of them, without I say their name, everybody know them.
Right. Okay.
They are asleep for 4 years.
Right.
They are asleep. Not even one motion. Not even one. Not some of them even don't speak. Like never say a word.
Okay.
But
let me ask. Right. Let me ask. I mean, from your first point about the person being electable and so on, right, and popular and likable and all those things. So with great reference to Mr. Elio, as an MLA, as you shared, he brought some excellent motions that were good for the country nationally, the tissue transplant and the like. But what is it then that happens where in this example, a politician, while that person is elected, is doing some good things, bringing some good motions, whether they're successfully passed or not, maybe they're contributing nationally to good debate. But then the election rolls around and the person isn't re-elected, or even in the case of a person who may be a good person, is never elected. Why is that? I mean, what happens in the case of the person who is in the House, doing some good stuff, seemingly, goes to the polls, but the voters say, nope, no vote for you today, Bobo, picking somebody else. What is the deal? I mean, how do you explain that? Can you explain that?
I mean, there is a situation was in the party that at the time he left the party, and there's other candidates from the same party, and the situation was confusing to the.
Okay.
To the
So all sort of
supporters
other
of the
dynamics are
party.
played in. Okay.
And that's why the reason what happened there.
Right.
But I don't think that is a
Yeah.
reason for
Well,
the
sorry.
people to
Sorry. Yeah.
vote
Let me
him out.
apologize. I wasn't. I see the inference quickly being drawn. Yeah. I wasn't trying to speak to him in his situation. But so then, what you're saying then, even if the politician, as a current member of the Legislative Assembly, doing good stuff, things can happen, that the voters may not be aware of, that causes that person to not get re-elected. Maybe, some of their own party people, behind the scenes doing a little dirty work, undermining. I mean, so all sorts of things can go on then. How do we address that then? Can we address that?
I mean, Dwayne, look at the vote for the same-sex marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and look who voted yes for same-sex marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the achievement? Like tomorrow when Mr. Miller will come to the platform to campaign, he will say, "I achieved that. I allow man and man to write each other back." Is it that the achievement we want in Northside from Mr. Miller?
Okay, but let me ask then, right? And I know that that's not only an emotive issue for many, it's an important issue. But is that one so important that at the end of the day, not speaking to one candidate, but just generally speaking, that the voters in that particular area, especially again, as I say, hopefully it'll hit some people upside the head. We got the country cut up into little bits and pieces. That's going to be so significant that it will cause people not to get elected or to get elected. And then secondly, are there other issues that are either as important or more important, and we're not addressing them with the same level of importance and resolve?
Dwayne, we need to see the MLAs. What if we look at what they achieve, what they don't achieve? A lot of MLAs need to leave the house. A lot of them need to leave the house, especially the PPM members,
right?
And Mr. Miller with them.
Right. But let me ask you then. Let me ask you. Given again that we have 1,000, 1,200 people. I mean, small number of voters in each little, carved up area. All right. The politicians for that little small area could be genuinely working in that area, keeping the numbers up, making sure that those constituents in that area are being well attended to. Nationally, we may not be seeing the work, because end of the day, in order to get anything done, they got to first get elected, and to get elected, they got to cater to the interests of the voters in that little pocket. So how can we, on a national scale, objectively make assessments and pass judgment when, in fact, they're probably paying attention to their own little communities and constituencies, and securing sufficient numbers in order to increase their chances of getting elected or re-elected?
If you drive your car, Dwayne, in Newlands, and you look what changed from past 4 years, you see nothing change in Newlands. And the same thing, you drive your car in Prospect, nothing changed from 4 years in Prospect.
Yeah. But what would you have wanted to see change?
In Georgetown West, the same thing, you drive your car.
Okay, so let me ask you then.
Change.
Let me ask you, because you drive your car and you're out and about in those communities and in the communities generally, right? First off, what would you have liked to have seen change, presumably change for the better? It's not change, you say. So what is it that you think should have happened that would have been a positive change, and you say, yep, good job was done? What is that?
For example, in 2009, when Georgetown West was MLA Elio Solomon, the park was at that time, before he elected, the public park is a disgrace. He renovates the park. He bring people to help with renovating the park, putting places for children to play, and he changed something in the community.
Right.
But past 8 years, the same park is destroyed.
Right.
And nobody even paint one post there.
Okay. So
That's an example.
that's a good example, 8 years ago. And then now let me ask you, in the other communities where you think that the politicians in those areas have done a good job, are there examples of things that have changed for the better that you think, you know what, that was a good attentive politician and deserves to be re-elected? Any good examples of those things in the last 4 years of good change?
Good change. Look at for example, Mr. Kenneth Bryan. I think he done so much in his community. He go house by house, help people, try to do anything.
Right.
Anything,
Okay.
help elderly people to fix their homes, to do whatever he can for people, because the man is come among the poor, and he is feeling what the poor feeling, and he doing what he can
Right.
for those
Okay.
poor people.
All right. So attentive. Okay, now before we go to the next caller, anything else you want to share with us?
Just I want to tell people that please, Northside voters, don't vote for Izzat Miller.
I thought you were telling vote for me, man. What wrong with you?
No,
No? Jeez, man.
not you.
Not me? Oh, tomorrow your view will change. We'll see.
I'll vote for you. All right, I'll vote for you.
Yeah, that's not an endorsement. All right, Amjad. Hey, thank you very much, all right?
All right,
All
thank
right.
you.
Have a good afternoon, man. A couple of more callers, If you can't laugh at me, then, maybe look in the mirror. Let's go to the phone. Say good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Mr. Dwayne Sterling.
Sterling Dwayne? Is that you, Bo?
That's me. This is Clyde. That's what it is.
Oh, man. Hey, listen. I'm blessed, man. Got accused of being handsome over the weekend, but I think she needed to change her glasses, so it's all good.
No, it happens to me daily, so
There you go, man.
don't take it personal.
There you go, man. There you go. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Likewise.
Yeah.
As the last caller was saying, talking about voting for you. This coming election, I'm going to vote for aspiring representatives, not politicians.
Ah.
We need people to represent the views of the persons that elect them to represent them. Not go in there and, I can't vote for this because it may not get me reelected. That's not what you didn't go in there, or we didn't put you in there for you to vote to get reelected. Vote to reflect the views of the people that elected you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That aside, I want to pay kudos and big up the HSA and all those persons that involved in administering the COVID shot at the airport. I went 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago, a week ago then. 2 Saturdays ago. And I drove into the parking lot at 10:10, and by 10:18, I had my shot. By 10:30, I was exiting.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And drive-by shooting then? Sorry.
Yeah. But
sorry. Oh, man.
I
was going to go like that one.
Yeah, with my big muscular frame, I just turned sideways and missed it. So.
It'd be like those Murray with the darts, just hit you right now.
So I think I'd like to also congratulate government for finally taking a stand to make the old tower building site as a park. Just wish that they would extend it now to and acquire those several pieces of little land right out there front there where those fishermen are. Yeah, the last time I checked, it might have been 6 or 8 small parcels there. I mean, nobody can do anything with them, so just acquire them.
Yeah, man.
and then that way you can have the park going right into the sea.
Yeah, but then no luck. I mean, we could continue knocking down ugly buildings and just live assemble the courts building, just get rid of all that now and create a little football field. Anyway, just go. Who knows where we can take this, huh?
Yeah, but remember before we used to have what was Princess Margaret Park?
Yeah. Was it Princess Royal? Was that what it's called? Or?
I think it was Princess Margaret.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think
me
it was
too.
Princess Margaret. Transfer that behind the LA building, or the House of Parliament.
Yeah.
The other thing is also like to congratulate the government for changing the name from Harbor Drive to Seafarers. Yeah, but I would just prefer if they had something like Seafarers Drive, Seafarers Causeway, Seafarers Avenue,
Boulevard.
A bit more Boulevard.
Yeah,
a bit more prestigious than way.
Oh yeah, we got disrespect our people though. You wouldn't have backhanded compliments, you know. Don't worry, man. We get there.
Yeah. Okay. Also, like give them hell for not having introduced some national plan during their current tenure.
Well, people will perish, with a vision, right? The nation perishes, right?
Yep.
So
and, right now, take Vision 2008, update the stats.
Yep.
In a month, you could have a new plan.
You see, thank you, Srinath. And I know there are going to be some people who make some comments, especially if I make some decisions. But the problem is that we no longer want to think and talk. We no longer want to work together. We no longer want to, sort of come together and say, what is the collective vision, of our people? It's one thing to have a degree of wealth, whether that's financial or otherwise. But if you don't have no spiritual wealth, no social wealth, then really, do you have a quality of life?
Nope.
So, just a thought.
It's fine, driving on new roads and this and that and seeing new buildings, but that, in my view, I know is shared by many.
Yep.
Is that what is quote unquote development? What is progress?
What is progress? Progress. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No man. Yeah, it was fine. Anyway, you know what? Let me hold on. You talk, I listen.
I know you like what? What's your name? Fine as sister's flower and smooth as silk.
Is that Quincy Banks? Hey, listen, man. I was thinking earlier, as Mr. Oman called, that my favorite fruit is the gooseberry, and it's nothing like. And there are different, I guess, varieties that would be of gooseberries. And the Cayman one, the skin is a lot thinner, more succulent, and you can enjoy the skin, even the seed to some extent, right?
I've never really one who really was a big lover of the gooseberry seeds, but I mean, if that what suit your fantasy, go for it.
You know what? I better be careful now, because there may be more than one person listening today.
Yeah, no, that's just between me and you,
That's what I thought. If I got lost, man.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't do that.
No, man. You're the kind of friend I won't go fishing with because I know you bring me back.
Yeah, but I can't promise you the fish got better again yesterday, but I find I have better luck when I go to Foster's or Kirk.
You see, my best luck is when I go down by my brothers. Either one of them, I find I catch plenty. They already got a bag, they're tagged.
Yeah, well, Merrill is still working on his boat, so.
All right.
Catch one dry land.
Yeah, man. All right. So, we got to talk some more. You got something else you want to share? Because I was trying to.
No. Those were points yesterday. Another day we'll.
Yeah, man. I make a drive. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Okay.
Right. Blessings to you.
The Teflon. Take it easy.
Wee. All right. I hear you, boy. It's on Monday. All right. Let's take this other caller. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Mr. Chocolate Man.
Yes, Mom. How are you?
You need no chocolate today. You're very happy.
Oh, listen to me.
You must have took your happy pill this morning.
Yep. Always.
Evelyn,
Yes, Mom.
your ears, don't you trade them with nobody, hear me?
My ears.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about taking a course in the media forum, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I changed my mind.
Why is that?
But, well, you just read between lines.
I hear you, but
you got more patience than Job.
No, man. Yeah. It's about humility. It's about love and respect, but it's also about a sense of conviction, in a sense that it's not that you're tolerant, it's that you're respectful. And I think too many times we are too willing to serve, some ulterior motive, as opposed to appreciating, and that if we're going to be true champions, with great deference to all, the caller prior talked about, having people who are aspiring representatives, and sometimes, you think of your parents who have made tough decisions, and sometimes that's by telling you no, no, you can't have that, no, you can't do that. And then there are times when they've sort of seemingly to you as a child, maybe have forced you. No, you need to go this, you need to do that, you need to, go to bed now, you need to do your homework, you need to go to football practice, you need to, honor your commitments. Is that a challenge that we have in this country, that we no longer remember the values that have placed us where we are?
Our values are disappearing on a daily basis. On.
Yeah, man.
Sterling, talking about our MLAs that we have in now, and hope to get new ones here and there. Sterling, if we could just see a new what's their thing to make up every year,
their manifestos, you mean?
Manifestos.
Yeah.
If you could just see some stuff on those manifestos that would turn you to go and select some other individual, because then this one is speaking the language that you've been trying to preach for years, and hey, we're going to get what we want finally. Well, I don't know if where that is and when that's going to come, because Sterling, in the next 10 years, we need to start thinking what's going to happen to Cayman in the next 10 years. You, me, and many more of us. And we are a God-fearing country. We got a lot of churches on the island. People go to church and they say they're Christians. And a Christian person, Sterling, should pray for those fallen ones that fall.
Pray without ceasing.
Pray without ceasing.
Yeah.
So when somebody falls, regardless of what situation they may fall, and you're knocking church door down during the week, and especially on Sundays, you need to pray for your people, because you cannot bring people in behind you if you're going to come out and criticize them and go and knock down church door tonight or Sunday and praising God and forgot that you just criticized, come down the road and mirror up the street. We need to stop that foolishness on this island. We cannot solve everybody's problem. We can pray for them and pray for the best for our people throughout this whole island, regardless of what situation they're in and regardless of who's in the house, because prayer answers our problems throughout this island and the world, and prayer answers everybody's problem in due time. But we want it in a hurry, and we think that we sound so good when we're going to criticize our own people because they fall down. We can do Sterling, and we can give our 100% ourselves. And as I back my toe, I am the worst son of a gun now living in the Cayman Island. There's no forgiveness. But Sterling, it all comes with a lot of low mentality. We read books, we watch TV, we go to church, we listen to people's conversation, but we will not take that negativeness and make positiveness out of it.
Right. Well, you know what? I guess we got to start thinking about, instead of trying to change others, maybe start by trying to change ourselves,
That's right. Right. I agree with you.
Yeah, man.
You go to your break and we'll talk later.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for everything. Bye. All right, with that, let's pause and take a short break. It is open line. It is a Monday. If I'm not mistaken, we're making it into the second month of this new year. It's February. Some birthdays were celebrated and some festivities were had. In a month hence, God's willing, there'll be more. What are you going to share with me when you come back? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Cocoa Fest is back at Pedro St. James on February 13th from 12 to 6 p.m. Enjoy crafts, games, music, coconut-inspired food and treats, health and beauty products, and quench your thirst with fresh coconut water. Admission is only $5, free for kids under 6. Proceeds go to build a wheelchair-accessible walkway at Pedro St. James. So go coconuts at Cocoa Fest, Saturday, February 13th. Sponsored by Fidelity Bank, Pepsi, Foster's IGA, Grapetree Cafe, High Impact Media, the Tourism Attraction Board, the Ministry of Culture, and the Ministry of Tourism. How can you take your business from good to great and thrive in the new normal? By finding the smartest, most powerful IT solutions to optimize your business operations. And now, Digicel Business Hub is making it simple for you. High-speed Wi-Fi, mobile and office phones, IT security, Microsoft Office with Teams, and much more. Everything your business needs to level up in the new normal. Get world-class IT for your business with Digicel Business Hub. Sign up today. Call us on 623-3444 or visit our website, digicelbusiness.com.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
Are you interested in a career in IT? The Spring UCCI Cisco NetAcad is offering more than 15 scholarships to new IT Academy students. The scholarship covers half of the tuition of the cost of the course. UCCI's IT Academy courses include CompTIA A+ certification, cybersecurity, CCNA Cyber Ops, programming essentials in Python, and Internet of Things. To apply for a scholarship, visit www.ucci.edu.ky/Cisco-NetAcad-scholarship. The deadline is February 10th and classes start on February 15th.
Running for political office is no easy feat. You need to be everywhere, all of the time.
Now is the time to get your important messages out to the voting public.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, has always been there for incumbents and future candidates alike. Whether you want to get your political commercials or infomercials on air, make in-house studio appearances, or have your district meetings broadcast live to the listening audience.
Set a time today to meet with one of our knowledgeable Radio Cayman sales account executives who have their fingers on the pulse of the community.
Call them today on 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, we've been in the community for just about 45 years. That means something.
Bacardi presents One Love Legends of Reggae Concert, Saturday, February 13th at Coral Beach, featuring Mr. Notch and Local Motion 345, Erica Asai, Bonafide Cayman, and DJ Craig, covering legendary reggae music with a lovers rock twist for this pre-Valentine's Day show. Catch the free pre-show from 4 p.m. with the Neverines and Sugar Daddy. Tickets to the main event, $25, available from eventpro.ky or ticket outlets, Coral Beach, Blackbeard's Liquor Stores, Winners Circle, FIS MoneyGram, Funky Tanks, Island Naturals Cafe, and ShopRite. One Love Legends of Reggae Concert is brought to you by Bacardi, Coral Beach, Burger Shack, Supermix, Caymanian Times, and Radio Cayman.
For information that matter to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you.
For the record.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk Morning Show. For the Record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the Record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. It is a Monday, and on this edition of Talk Today, we have some open line. As we head on up to the 2 p.m. hour, let's go to the phones and join our callers. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp 925-3261. And of course, if it's some reason, you just want your comment to be, shared off air, perhaps for us to relate to our listeners, we can arrange that for you as well as this one, just referenced earlier. The importance, I think, as this caller was mentioned to us during the break, the notion that as a country develops, it's important to recognize the contributions of its people, to pay deference to its history, to appreciate that there are changing, dynamics at play, but to ensure that not just what happens now, but for future generations, how will it be reflected? It was a short break nonetheless, but the example given is now we're seeing, just like we've probably seen throughout human history, changes to just like statues across the globe are being pulled down, and some would think, well, they should never have been erected, but that was the scope of what life was like then, and not unlike what is happening now. The role that women played and the way they were ignored, just like other people from cultures or economic backgrounds, whether you subscribe to a caste system in your country or a class system or otherwise, whether it's in green or whether it's just something that is unspoken but is very real, or whether it's because of ethnicity, the color of your skin determining whether you have access to healthcare, education, employment, opportunity, the political agenda, and as the person shared, these are very difficult and touchy things, sometimes not always handled properly, often ignored, and many times used in an emotive way to galvanize people in order to bring about a particular outcome. And the question that was posed, are we cognizant of it happening here, and are we consciously doing something to address it, to ensure that Cayman and Caymanians have been fully briefed and involved and now are engaged? I'll substitute the word empowered. Well, what is your view? 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of flow 1-800, so that's 1-800-534-8255, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255, and share your thoughts with us. Or if it's easier, or for some reason you're not able to access the toll-free line, then 949-8037, 949-8037 is that number to share your thoughts. Now, as look at a couple of quick notes that were shared. It's from some of our listeners earlier, and one or two messages that we just add into our commentary. We talked about the Constitution and the idea of, well, should it be, revised, not to make it, this piece of document that has little or no value because it's constantly under revision. But given that, I think, as one of the listeners quickly messaged, well, it was supposed to be under review every 5 years, and not, again, to just make it that thing that has no value, but because it's a living, breathing document, as I think the person wrote, and remind us of what was said during that time of deliberation when we were considering constitutional sort of modernization. And then with that, well, what does that document sort of reflect? Now, the caller earlier one of the callers earlier talked about, the changes to our legislation relative to same-sex marriages. Again, a very emotionally charged issue on all sides. And as some may probably quickly say, well, there is a segment of our society, voter and non-voter alike, maybe in a younger age group, maybe not, for whom this is really a non-issue. It's a sense of, equal rights for all. It's a sense that maybe we've been too dogmatic and perhaps, for some, too, how should we put it? Maybe discriminatory interactions. Some would say, well, deceitful. What we do privately isn't exactly, the same thing that we say publicly. Well, again, what it may seem to be informative for some is just inflammatory to others. What is your perspective? Do you feel that you have an equal voice, an equal access to the airwaves to share your thoughts? And I ask that because there are many who increasingly have found that in their minds they have developed a perception that Radio Cayman in particular, well, it's the government station, so therefore you don't toe the government line. If you say things contrary to what may be perceived as the government rule, well, you're going to be sanctioned. Well, I don't necessarily subscribe to that nor agree to it. But any employee and every employer will probably expect that there will be some level of deference one to the other to ensure that, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. The beautiful part about, the government coffers is that we contribute to it through our taxes. And at the end of the day, if it's a democracy, then at some point, especially in our system, where the elections are set, to occur almost, at a fixed time in a fixed period, unlike jurisdictions that there can be a snap election. Well, maybe we have a greater sense of participation and a healthier sense of a democracy. Well, we're going to pause and take a short break, but when we come back, why don't you call and share your thoughts? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
You still run rings around your kids or grandkids. You can show the young people a thing or two. You wouldn't say you're old just yet. You may not think you're vulnerable to COVID-19, but you are. High-risk individuals with COVID can get long-term damage, including lung damage, brain fog, and loss of smell. In some cases, they may die. People age over 60 are strongly encouraged to get vaccinated for yourself, your family, and the community to keep yourself healthy and feeling young. For information on how priority individuals can get vaccinated, visit hsa.ky.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. It is open line, 1-800-534-8255 if you want to call. But let's go straight to the phones. You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Dear Sterling, number one, you Kingston.
Mr. Dolan, sir, how are you today?
It's rough and regular, but tell me something. Did you have your shots?
My shots?
Yeah.
Well, there's a part of me that wants to say, are you talking tequila or
That's why I'm asking you.
Why?
You sound like you had 3 shots.
So you're the second person, though. So you think I'm that much more animated and potentially inebriated, or what are you telling me, man? Okay.
I'm so glad to hear you in a good mood today.
But thank you, sir. And how do I say this? There are some days when you're in an exceptionally great mood because you recognize the blessings. And then there are some days you got to dig really, really, really deep because you know that what's transpiring is a difficult cross to bear. So if you call those things that aren't as if they were, if you subscribe to a notion that it is not fair to others for them to, take your burdens, especially if they haven't asked to help you carry it. So today, you're putting a good foot forward and pressing on and pressing in so that, what comes out is what you want it to be. And thank God it's as such. Looking with expectant jubilation as in a hopeful, premise.
Well, I'm going to make sure to bring you a good, strong shovel before you leave. Okay? With a tough handle, like when you put it down, pull up, you can get all you want.
There you go.
All right?
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question because
of course.
This morning. If those people still up by the government building with Cuban flags?
Well, when I saw earlier, I didn't see the flags, but there are people there. And, yeah, they are.
I wonder if Caymanian was supposed to go where some of them come from and go try to protest. What would happen over there?
Well, equally important, what if Caymanians were to go out and protest?
Right by the government building.
But why shouldn't that be, though? If we live in a democracy, should not people be allowed to assemble without permission of the police or the premier or whomever? I mean, and say, listen, we don't like whatever and we're standing for it. Should not be able to be the case?
It depends on what the situation is, sir.
Okay, listen to you. Mm-hmm.
What the problem is.
Right, okay.
If it is something that you don't live here, you're not a Cayman and this and that, you got refugee status and all kind of things, and you want to go because stand up with Cuban flag, what I heard this morning? No.
Okay. So let me then ask, and I'm not saying, and I'm not trying.
Ask me anything.
Yeah, no, that's why I did. Thank you for that too, because I think you think deeply, and I think that you are one of the few people who will publicly say, this is your opinion, right? So you stand by. But let me then ask, and not speaking to other jurisdictions, other countries, just the Cayman context. So two things: we have a person or people who are in Cayman and seemingly legally in Cayman. Let's just make it that much easier, whether they're on work permit or otherwise, and they decide they want to protest. Let's just use that word. They don't think that this is fair. Maybe they disagree with taxes on something. Maybe it's a political thing, a social thing. Now, should they be allowed to? Some would say no. Some would say yes. But why not?
I said if they don't agree with taxes or something, go to whoever is in charge of that department and have a conversation with them.
Okay.
There's no need for them to come out here and go protesting down here and making this country look bad.
Okay. So you and that's okay. You remember, and hopefully my memory is correct, Mr. Bush, as the astute political leader that he is, was talking about a community tax, payroll tax, some sort of tax that would be initially applied to foreign nationals on work permit. And there was one fellow who seemingly were days away from leaving the country, started to make a lot of noise about it. A few Caymanians jumped on board and so on because they don't think we should tax foreigners. That was unfair. And he got up in arms and made all sorts of noise. Now, that seemed to have been okay, gained traction, and so went the discussion. Other foreign nationals say things and seem to have the same level of thing. We give them, as investors, concessions, again, taxpayer money to get a project off the ground so that it's financially viable. Workers in other countries become part of unions or organizations or associations, and they can lobby. But in the Cayman context, if Caymanians were to do that, then for somehow that is seen as not a good thing.
That's what I'm trying to say. If Caymanians go there and go do something, you're going to hear the worst thing about them all over the world. See me, they were talking about that person on the TV, but
Right.
with a problem, you know what I'm talking
Right,
about.
right. Can I then ask then, right? And maybe I should give this a little more thought, but
Put it out.
so
bring it
no.
out.
So you and I are chatting. So I'm hosting a talk show. It's an election year, and I was to say something, I don't know, politically charged. You know what? This political campaign season, the country should be looking at this, and this, or we should, punish the political candidates that don't support this, or this, whatever that thing is, right? How do you think that's going to be perceived? You think I'll get raked over the coals by my bosses up there, the organizational chart? Will the community say, boy, I don't know what he's smoking, but he better have no more of that? Or would it be something that everybody agrees with and rally on board? Or because they agree with it, they won't have the courage to say it? I mean, how do you think that would play out?
If you said it, that's the question?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I said everybody should have a free voice. Once you came on, you got your papers, whatever it is, beside the other thing we talked about a while ago.
Right.
And if you are here permanently, you should have a voice to say something. Doesn't matter whether you're the premier or not.
All right. So do you think, honestly, if I heard you correctly, and this can use me because then, I don't point fingers at anybody else. So me and my job in this position right here now was to say something. I will have a free voice, and you don't think there will be any repercussions for it?
I'm not saying there won't be. Oh, don't worry. But I say it should be fixed a certain way, the way you say it.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
You got to, I don't know what to use.
I know. I hear you.
Imagine the word you're going to come up with, it doesn't affect you then. Put it that way.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking that is that you think that would matter if I was working for the government or I was working for the private sector. The public hears something that the public may agree with and may be glad, boy, somebody had the courage to say it. But end of the day, if there's some punishment, some fallout, you think that person will get the support, even though this thing was such a good thing and needed to be said?
I say if you're working for government, they should still give people the opportunity to voice their opinion. They don't need to come out and talk all the fine, gritty things.
Right. No state secrets.
And come and put your voice out or tell it to the people, whichever one you want. And they shouldn't have no right to fire you.
Well, we'll see.
That's how I feel about it.
Yes, sir.
And I said those people don't have no right to come here, come sit down the Cuban fan, stand down in the sun, and carry on like said they're next to the premier. No. They don't even have the regular status. And whoever joining them, if it's any Cayman, then they be them. Lord have mercy on the island.
Okay, sir.
I have spoken, sir.
Yes, sir.
And,
you have.
Like what my man said, I did. I kept it that time.
You try to be yourself. All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Dolan, sir. Thank you. All right, let's take one more call if we can before the news. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moderator. Quincy Brown, how are you, sir?
Hey, Q. What's going on, man? How are you?
It's all good.
Blessings.
Tranquil, peace, good meditation. We're 2 minutes away from 2 o'clock. Let me be brief, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking my call. Joyce Myers reminds us that whatever God directs us to do, whether his direction comes in the form of an inner knowing in our hearts or through reading his word, we must make the commitment to always obey. Whatever God tells us to be committed to, that we must be committed. Commitment is one of the keys to victory. Thank you, Joyce Myers, for that. I want you to know, Mr. Moderator, that Little Cayman is the secret that we've kept hidden for so many years in the Cayman Islands. I want to encourage all of your listeners to take a weekend staycation to Little Cayman. I did. I'm back in Cayman Brac now, where my Brac staycation will soon wind up, and I return to Grand Cayman. So just want to say good afternoon to you, and pause to honor Twyla Vargas, and I want to pause to honor Islin Ebanks, two cultural icons, two cultural treasures that have gone on too soon. We're all Cayman Islanders. We must continue to push forward, embracing our culture and remembering our heritage. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much, Quincy. And as he shared, maybe it's a secret that is only kept from Caymanians, and we don't seem to have the time, the money, or the wherewithal to embrace it otherwise. And as you reminds us of the past, and there are others that have likewise passed, and that can be a heavy burden to bear sometimes, especially when you're in the public domain. Well, let's pause and take a short break, go to our news, and when we come back, who's going to be the next caller? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. 736 people were in isolation at the start of the weekend after government reported the results of 409 COVID-19 tests on Friday. All came back negative. Turning to international news now, former U.S. President Donald Trump's legal team accused House Democrats of engaging in political theater and argued that the upcoming Senate impeachment trial is unconstitutional because Trump is no longer president. This was only ever a selfish attempt by Democratic leadership in the House to prey upon the feelings of horror and confusion that fell upon all Americans across the entire political spectrum upon seeing the destruction at the Capitol on January 6th by a few hundred people, Trump's lawyers wrote in a pretrial brief filed Monday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told a Jerusalem court he is not guilty of 1 charge of bribery and 3 charges of fraud and breach of trust. Monday's appearance was Netanyahu's second in court since his corruption trial formally began in May. Netanyahu, wearing a black mask, entered the court shortly after 9 a.m. and stood to confirm that the pleas of not guilty submitted earlier in written form by his lawyers represented his reply to the charges. And Tom Brady has taken things to another level not seen before, winning a Super Bowl at age 43 in his first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and making history by being part of the first team to appear in a Super Bowl in its home stadium and accomplishing all of this in a pandemic. The Buccaneers won Super Bowl 55 at Raymond James Stadium by a score of 31-9 against last year's champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, and their superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes, viewed as the player who will take the torch from Brady one day. This is Tampa Bay's second title and it caps an NFL season unlike any before it, with Super Bowl 55 taking place in front of a crowd of just 24,835 and roughly 30,000 cardboard cutouts of fans. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now? Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. I want you to share with us your thoughts on whatever you feel is important. 949-837, 949-8, you know. What's the call, Mr. Fox? You want to be a part of the discussion? Nope, he says, I got work to do. 949-837 or 1-800-534-8255. I was just quickly reflecting on the last caller and then the lady earlier. What do you think? I mean, to the comment that in our society that we feel sufficient as individuals, you know, the freedom, the protection that we can speak out against whatever and not have to worry so much about the repercussions. There always should be consequences to our actions, and don't be fooled our inactions, because sometimes, you know, sometimes it's not just what you do, it's what you didn't do that could be just as bad, if not worse. But like and I only use the civil servant because we always point fingers, oh, they're civil servants, you know, they're bridle, they're muzzle. But do you think the same thing happens in the private sector? You know, maybe even part of their contract of employment listen, you can't do this. If you want to do this, you need permission and the like. Or is that only to certain employees, whether they're on permit or otherwise, or certain categories of employees, depending on their position? And to what extent is it a case that it isn't about individual freedoms and liberties and the freedoms and the like? It's about, well, you know what? Let's make sure we self-censor, because just in case, with a mortgage to pay, children in school, and all of these other things, you want to get to the top of the ladder because you want to make more money and have in your minds, a more successful career. So with that in mind, then do we self-censor? And, whether it's spoken or otherwise, maybe we just recognize that, for some people, it's kisses go by favors. You can't get anywhere unless you play the game. It's not about merit. It's not about those who are adding value. It's not about, who's deserving. It's just about, put it bluntly, who sucks up to who. Well, your thoughts. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. So you referenced earlier in our discussion, the conversation, and one of the things that was shared is that in a society like Cayman with relatively small numbers and seemingly with the incredible wealth that flows through the country that may, be seen statistically as a wealthy nation, could we have more, that wealth amongst the people? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Brother Dwayne. How are you today?
Hi, my friend. How are you today? All is well.
Good. Yes, sir. Yeah, well, I'm not sure who you have in. Is it a Kim and Back show today? I hear a lot of backers calling in.
Boy, listen, that's why the show is so good. And the more backers call in, the better it is.
Definitely. They hear some others.
Yep. So it's just an open line, and hopefully me and the Holy Spirit. But then sometimes, they say evil can't dwell in the presence of God. So hopefully not today, but we'll see.
Definitely. Well, no, I just picked up on the last point you had there, questioning whether people in the private sector or public sector should be speaking out for whatever reason, the protests, the Cuban, whatever the issue.
Right.
But that is true, because you know how it is in Cayman. We front porch politicians and everything else, but when it comes to getting out there, we're very shy, shall I say.
Reserved, huh?
The thing that bothers me, I know, Cayman is small, and if you throw a stone, chances are somebody you might even know that's your co-worker's brother, friend, cousin, or it'll affect somebody. So there will be repercussions usually.
Right.
But what bothers me more with that example there is that there are many people in leadership positions and top of business. They basically have no one that can effectively threaten them or hurt them or fire them, right? Victimize them then.
Right.
So why aren't those people recognizing certain things, and whether they do it themselves or speaking up on behalf of someone else, they're the ones as community or business leaders that should really be, speaking out for these any types of injustices or
right. But how do you think? Okay, let's say a politician. Let's use that, because in our minds, the politician is at the sort of the top of the pecking order, as it were, right?
Right.
And we would probably, right or wrong, make the assessment that new politician, first-term politician, even the second-term politician, got a point to prove, man. So maybe quick to jump on the bandwagon and beat up on everything and try to champion everything, right? But then the seasoned politician who's been there 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100 years, whatever it is, right? At some point, neither one seems to, take up the cause and stand in the gap and do the things that we're saying perhaps somebody should do, and maybe them, because since they're at the top of the pecking order.
Well, I don't know if that is true necessarily, because politicians respond to public pressure.
Okay.
And if there's no public advocacy or, I wouldn't say protest, but representation.
Okay.
If there's very little or no public expression of concern about an issue, the politicians are likely to ignore it.
Okay.
But if enough people say whatever's the issue, because we've seen examples in recent years, the cruise port, they gave this and that, and they, we've seen issues where the public, is up in arms about something, and that is what influences, numbers count, so that's what influences politicians.
If I could then ask you about the cruise port, and carefully, because really and truly, at the end of the day, I stand by what I say, and hopefully I'm smart enough to remember what I said, right? But there's someone who keeps saying to me, I gotta come on one day and talk about this. And the view expressed by the person is that had there not been this thing that transpired this last year, this government would be put in deep waters because of the cruise port issue when it comes to the election, right? But now the same people that were ready to castigate the government and vote them out of office are singing their praises to the highest, right? Is it that we have short memories or that we recognize what is important?
Now, if that's a question for me, I'm going to have to use that shovel, that number one offered you. I'm not going to touch that question.
No. It's not. I don't wish for you to answer directly.
But the thing is, though, yes, we know there are many of those big issues around.
Right.
But the crisis that we're now facing, and this is how I see it anyway, the crisis is caused by COVID, but there's a social crisis that we're dealing with now. And it's a blend of the unemployment, the financial situation relating to that, the health situation which is relating to that. Everything is connected in that regard. But there is a crisis that we're dealing with now. Many people are suffering. Some people are doing okay, but most people are still not embracing the fact that we're in a crisis situation now.
And we probably won't feel the impact until maybe end of the year or a year from now.
But a smart person don't wait until they feel the impact of a bomb before they duck, right?
Right.
What I'm trying to say is we need to, instead of looking at, nitpicking on issues or even big issues that we probably can't do anything about anyway, we need to focus on things that we can do things about.
Right.
Which is our neighbors, our friends.
Right. But then, if I can ask you then, and again, you know what? It's not about throwing caution to the wind, but it's about being accountable and responsible. Right? So if we're looking at an election year and we're saying, okay, we may not have liked the government for the cruise port, or we may have liked the government for the cruise port. If we fail to remember or recognize what was transpiring a year ago, 4 years ago, or whatever it was, and forget it now, and repeat that same thing that was in our minds not a good thing, how do we expect to make it better? I mean, every time you walk in through the door and you hit your toe on the piece of trim that's sticking out, and you never seem to pay attention to it, you never address it, you don't shave it off, you don't change the swing of the door or what have you, it's not going to get any better, right? You'd always hit your toe on it because you're going in the same way.
There's something tricky. There's one tricky word that people still trying to figure out. That's called democracy.
Oh, okay.
It's not the government doing, and we don't like the government and this and that. It is, obviously we live in a democratic country. It's the will of the majority.
Yeah.
No matter what the majority decides, there will always be someone who doesn't agree.
Right.
There's almost never 100% buy-in with anything. So if you accept in a democracy, okay, you may not agree with that issue, but guess what? X amount of people agree and a law is passed in favor. But then again, when it comes to an issue that you want to push, you want to stand up for, you believe in, then that's your time to represent. And hopefully encourage other people and get enough support on your issue
right.
you're passionate about.
Here is the word I thought.
That is where we fall down on the democracy. In Cayman, we like to point fingers and say that the government should have done this.
Right.
The government responds to the will of the people.
Yeah. I thought the word that you were going to use wasn't just democracy, it was participation.
Well, it's the same thing, exactly. Participatory democracy, if you want to say.
Yeah, our people need to appreciate. Yeah, no, I'm with you, man, and I'm with you. Yeah. And it's beautiful because, for the most part, almost every single one of us, and certainly the voters, know the politicians, the political hopefuls, and the like. But for some reason, when we access them, we want the $5 or the $500. We want the reference, the job, whatever, which is probably par for the course. But we're not willing to appreciate that the guy who was just a scoundrel back in wherever and somehow has managed to find a safe haven in Cayman is now touted as a, I don't know, some sort of altruistic philanthropist, developer kind of
we have them big fish like that right here. We know what they were doing in the 70s, and we had them seeing big fish right here.
But if that's
have to look for.
But if that was earth fish that was swimming in our waters, right? That's one thing.
I'm not looking to catch or fishing for them big fish today.
Yeah, but
I'm looking at the small things. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, man.
But I'm seeing kids in school that need help. I'm seeing teenagers out of school that need help.
Yep.
That are sidelined. There are no services. There's no programs catering to them. But I see churches that are not filling the gap.
Yep.
I see communities that are not. And I know we have all of a sudden X amount of nonprofits sprouting up. Great. Mm-hmm. Nonprofit doesn't mean they're not making money. It's just on paper they're not supposed to make a profit.
Right. But we may have more charges, but less charging.
Right. But there's so much to do. I appreciate those who are feeding, feeding people and looking out for elderly. That's great. I'm not, in no way talking down on anybody.
No.
I'm just saying that there are some that are falling through the cracks that we need to catch. And it's not one or two. It's a large amount.
Right.
From 16 to 30, especially. 16 to 29.
Yeah, you just said, right, that I think we need to start to recognize. And we are apt to use words and phrases like broken homes and at risk and all these things, right? Single parent and what have you. And I wonder to what extent have we looked as a community, within our communities, our own neighborhoods, as we rush to get our communities and to celebrate our successes and elevate each other and all that, right? What about in our schools where there's, reports of fights, sexual abuse, improper relations between students as well as adults and children,
and in the homes as well,
and in the homes, and all these things, right? There
is a crisis. Especially, we have a National Youth Commission. I was a part of the founding from inception, and for more than a decade I worked closely with them.
Yes, sir.
That should be advocating for youth issues, youth empowerment. Out of that, as you know, came things like
National Youth Policy and the like.
Right, the National Youth Policy, the Youth Department,
mm-hmm.
Youth Flex Show, which we built from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, and also Proud of Them also came out of that. The whole Proud of Them campaign came out of that.
Right.
So those are things that we've done to sort of recognize and uplift young people.
Right.
But it takes more than just a billboard or recognizing the high achievers.
But can I then ask you something, right? Well, two things. One, if the people who are at the helm, so the chairman of some board, the person we've anointed and appointed and elevated to something, right? If they lack integrity, if they don't see, and this is not just in Cayman, but it's the world over, but let's focus on Cayman because maybe we can address it here. If there are people that we know, let me offend some people. So you got a guy who is suspected to be a pedophile, an abuser, or some other miscreant, right? Why don't we put them there and never take them to task, right?
Because these days the people forgot the men. Back when the men used to take responsibility for their community,
mm-hmm.
they had something that they used to call a piece of scantling
mm-hmm.
to solve a lot of those issues.
Well, take it fishing and didn't come back, right? Hey, no,
but anyway,
yeah.
I don't want to take up the whole show, but I hope that people really do recognize that we're in a delicate state right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many services. Government can't do everything for everybody.
As it shouldn't.
But
mm-hmm.
training, education, this should be a year of training, especially tourism. When November comes, we should have at least 1,000 people skilled and trained and prepared to work in almost every position in tourism.
Right. Well, the thing is,
so
if
nothing else, it would occupy the time and the minds and give people, especially young people, some positive sense of
a sense of purpose.
Right, exactly.
A sense of purpose, my friend. It's not just a song by Third World. Hey, anything else you want to share as we wrap it up?
No, that's it. Unless you're gonna have a cake in the studio.
Listen, if I had any, I would happily share with you. But I can probably tell you if we had any, if we went good, it would be on the left. So
I don't need it anyway.
Yeah. Safe to say that too. All right. Well, listen, thank you, man. Thank you very much. And to our listeners, as agreed with the people behind the scenes here, we're going to take a quick exit. I got to be somewhere. That takes me a while to get there, and if I don't go, then I can't be. So we're going to call it that for today. If what was said is shared, inflames or offends, certainly accept the apology. Not that it was said, but that it was said and it was not received with the same love that it was shared. I try hard to stand behind what I say. It doesn't mean that it doesn't sometimes cause people to feel a little itchy in the skin, but hey, we have to grow if we're going to be better, and if we want to advance, we have to be willing to, first move forward. The best way to say, well, let me not word that because there's no way else to rephrase it, but if you want to get up, you got to stand up. 949-8037 is a number to call. Tomorrow we invite you to be a part of a discussion right after the midday news and midday meditation. If you see me out and about and you have a word of wisdom and counsel, if you're offering up a prayer of safety, security, protection and provision, happily embrace it. And never forget, the best person to do something is probably you. And the one person that you definitely can work on and changing is probably you. So as I work to be better, maybe together we'll be, that much better. Until tomorrow, be blessed.